folks, welcome back to the shop. My name is Kevin. I recently bought a Ford jaw chuck from Shaw's, so let's open it up and see what you really get for those sale prices. Well, here it is. You pay your money and you get this in the mail. The box survived. Looks like it's a little squishy, but let's take a look. It's all packaged up. Oh goody! They put bubbles that didn't survive. Shaw's Tool Company catalog. Well, we'll check that out, see how it goes. And then another box. Look at there. You've got that fresh from China smell straight out of the box. It's been tested, certified. It's great. Everything's perfect. Get yourself a little Allen wrench. A chuck key. This looks like it's slathered and yeah, that'll be nasty. And your hardware kit. This is a D16, so it's gonna have the pins in the back of it. Yummy. This is a 10-inch four-jaw, so be a little heavier than some, but I got it because it should be lighter than my 12-inch four-jaw. Boy, this is going to be nasty. But hopefully the nasty kept all the rusties away. Yeah, I would say it did. Looks like they just flat dunked it in oil, and hope that did the trick. Hang on just a moment. Let me get this mess out of here. Okay, just got the paper out of here. It is wet and nasty. I didn't think you guys wanted to watch me wipe it off with paper towels, but got some of it off. Something that I'm noticing is there's a little bit of trash, a little bit of grinding swarf or something, some nasties, down inside these marker lines that are on this piece. So this is going to need a good cleaning before it goes on there, because this is likely grinding dust and whatnot. It looks okay, you know, pleasing to the eye. I don't see any glaring faults about it. There's some grinding marks look sufficient, although some of them look like they got a little warmer than others, but it'll be all right. But I noticed something on the back side that tells a different story. Okay, there we go. Right here. That stuff. I can feel it. That's just grit. From grinding, machining, everything else, that's just grit. So yeah, it's all down inside here. We're going to need to open this thing up, clean this thing up, and see just what it looks like. So excuse the banging around. Let's get this chuck key opened. Oh, this is nasty. So we get this grabbable without slamming. Interesting. Looks like they've already got some hookers on there, and that's steel. So yeah, I might want to kind of watch out for that. Gonna have to knock that off of there. I don't know if that's coming through in the camera, but it's kind of grindy. It's kind of hard to pull out. And look at this. More grinding dust, grinding debris. So obviously if you get one of these things, take it apart, clean it up. This little bitey bit on these, oh, that's getting hard to turn. Getting real tough to turn. Actually, I'm going to put a little something on it. Pull that back a little bit. Look at that. This thing is plumb full of trash. If you grab one of these things and you don't open it up, you're doing yourself a bit of a disservice there. It's not going to last long. And yeah, it bit me. So let me get this thing apart. Let me knock the burr off of this, and we'll come. Okay, I decided to just go ahead and tear it down on camera. I did open these little guys up, and it's pretty obvious that they are not hardened. I did drag a file across the back of one, and yeah, it's just soft metal. They look okay. They've got some marks on them from just rattling around in the bag. These actually seem to be okay. Not too much trash caught down in the threads. The bolts look good. They're the Chinese equivalent of 12.9, so we'll see how that works out. One thing I noticed is there's no markings on the chuck other than handling dings and marks. So it doesn't actually tell you, it doesn't actually number the jaws. This jaw has a number in it, but there's no 1 through 4 to talk to you about the jaws, so you can try to get them back in the same place. So I'm going to try to keep that in mind, so let's just go ahead and tear the rest of these out. That's nasty. Same number as the other one. A different number on the back side of this, but you can tell they're nice and clean. Yeah, this is ugly. And all the gunge that you're seeing on these is also down into here. So, yeah, it's pretty nasty. Again, the machine work looks okay. These are sharp edges there. There's a little bit of a burr that's rolled up on them. That's kind of sad. And for those of you that are keeping track, this is metric. It's not 3/4 inch. This is 10 millimeter. So keep that in mind. The wrenches from your other chucks are not likely to work in this if you've got old American stuff. That didn't work out. What I'm seeing on the back is a lot of that same trash. Not real happy about this thing. The machine work is good enough, but it's been bashed around quite a bit. There's all kinds of handling marks. You can see where it's been slid. It's definitely not hard. I don't see any attempts to try to balance it. That hole looks like it was put there for manufacturing purposes for their handling. But all of this is going to need a good solid cleaning. I'm going to have to pull these out and get the screws out of here. So let's get that done. Okay, I don't have a good puller that's going to fit this, so I'm just going to need to improvise here. And that's got some nasties on there. Thread form looks okay. That's just completely full of nasties. So that was here, so that one's going to be that guy. Oh, before we get too carried away on that. So it's just, you can see that schmoo down in there. They didn't clean any of this stuff before they put it back together. This is lubricated with a special blend of shipping oils and, well, grinding debris. This is really sad. You could have a fairly decent chuck here if you would just clean it up a little bit. So and more of the same. Now let's get that all the way out. This is pretty ugly, but I guess that's what you get for a $150 chuck. It's going to take a lot of cleaning up before we even think about putting it on the machine. You can just see the nasties coming down through here. Of course, I'll have to get all the lint out from the paper towels, but right now that's the least of my concern. That's where your screws are riding. So they're going right down these channels, picking up this schmoo and putting it right into the back of these unmarked chucks. And there's debris like this everywhere. That's metal. It's been machined off of there. They're just metal chips. And my little work surface here is covered with them. All up here from just fallen out of this thing. If you use it as is, it would probably last you a good while. But I bet it'll last you a lot longer if you clean this stuff up first. So it's going to need a good bit of cleaning before we can do anything with it. So let me get this done. Let me get this cleaned up a little bit, and we'll see what comes out of it. Okay, let me make you dizzy for a moment here. Let's get a light inside there, and let's take a look on down. All that nasty. It's as if there was no attempt made to even clean out any of the grinding debris. You just slapped it together and went. And we're back. Through the miracle of video, a couple days have passed and it's all back together and reassembled. This little guy took a lot of attention to get it straightened out, cleaned up, and usable. The main bits were all there, they were good, but they hadn't been finished. There were a lot of sharp edges on a lot of things, including the jaws. There were little runners here for the jaws to slide in. Their races were burred pretty badly. So we had to completely pull the jaws out, pull the screws out, get everything cleaned up. A lot of stoning on the little guides and the ways. You don't want to take off material, you just want to clean it up, because if you start taking off metal, you got to start making these jaws really loose in there. The chuck was just lubricated with nothing more than grinding grit and communist tears, so it took a lot of cleaning to get the trash out and to get some oil back into it, just a touch of it, to make things move properly, move smoothly. It all works out pretty good now. I'm not going to argue about it. This one's still a little tight, but it's not bad. It's a good usable chuck. If I had thrown this on the lathe and just started using it right out of the box, it was not going to last nearly as long because of all of the grit that was down in there. This chuck was just going to loosen itself up and just wear itself out. If you get one, take the time, do it right, take it apart, clean it up. It's not that difficult. The jaws do seem to be fairly hard. They're not crazy hard, but they are fairly hard. I was able to cut them with some files, but not by much. This was really close. They did have some burrs on them that needed to be stoned to clean up. Now the face of the chuck has got a lot of scratches and handling marks on it already, and it hasn't even been on the lathe. This is all just from a fairly soft material. It was a clean surface finish, but the material's not the toughest that they used on this, and it scratches pretty easily. Now the reference lines, those are kind of interesting. That's kind of nifty. This first little set, check it out. We're looking 90 millimeter. On the American side of things, that's just a touch over 3.5 inches, so it's not bad. Then we get to the next round out. We're looking at 126 millimeters. Doesn't really fit anything because when you run that over, you're just under 5 inches. Not really there. Then you get out to the third run, and you're at 162 millimeters, which is, roughly being an idiot, 6 and a little over 6 3/8 roughly. Then we'll move out to the last line. We're at 197 millimeter, which is 7 3/4 into chunks. So yeah, these aren't measurements, these are references. Don't expect to put it out here and say, oh, that's good for a 4-inch piece. No, it's not going to work. It's a good reference to line up the edges of your jaws or something like that, get them all pretty close. You're going to have to go back to the same old-fashioned measuring, measuring the distances between your jaws to see what you've got. Will it work? Certainly, and it should provide years of good use. Just you've got to get in there and clean them up. It's still kind of nice to have a new chuck, even if it isn't, a top-of-the-line buck or something like that. I think it'll still be a good chuck. For 150 bucks, a couple hours worth of work, yeah, I think it'd be all right. Some folks were asking me why I went and spent the money on a 10-inch 4-jaw for my 12-inch lathe when I already had a 12-inch 4-jaw chuck. Well, let me get you a pretty good reason here. Aha! We're going to do a port check on this beast. Zeroed out. $56.8 pounds, and for you metric type folks, there you go. So get that off of there, and we'll break out the pig. Yeah. And in metric land, here you are. There's a good reason to switch to, a few good reasons to go to the 10-inch instead of the 12. I can still do about 99% of my work with this thing. I can actually do more with this than I can with this, because the 10-inch will close down smaller. It's got thinner jaws. It'll get in there into places where the 12-inch isn't going to go. It does not have the slots to use dogs or faceplates, or use it as a faceplate, or any of the other nifty little things you can do with the slots here. But for most of what I do, this is going to get the job done. When I have to go to smaller work, I've got to get this beast off the lathe. I don't have a crane in here. Yeah, I'll take moving this little guy any day of the week over having to throw this thing around. So anyway, there you go. Shor's 10-inch 4-jaw chuck. Would I do it? Sure, why not? Okay, we'll see you folks next time.